Hello everyone, welcome to my GMB News channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Donald Trump has consistently threatened to forcibly annex Canada as well as Greenland, and has goaded and insulted Justin Trudeau and Canadians more generally. The Guardian view on why Canada matters. A nation in the global frontline, March 6. Trump and his far-right coterie of plutocrats and supine Republicans want freedom for themselves to accumulate even more wealth and capital, to accelerate the plunder of other people and to promote the destruction of our planet. It's not just bad behavior towards a peaceful neighbor that is at issue. This is the real meaning of the poly-crisis referred to in your recent article. What is this era of calamity we're in? Some say poly-crisis captures it, March 6. The term is an empty signifier, devoid of any explanation or useful meaning. So what is the situation we are in and how should we conceptualize it? I prefer the terminology of Antonio Gramsci, who, noting the morbid symptoms arising in the interregnum in 1930s Europe, wrote, "The old is dying and the new cannot be born." The term he used for the interwar period was organic crisis, something long-lasting involving struggle and conflict. That crisis only ended with the most lethal war in history. Today we are in a planetary organic crisis, and unless we confront it, we are part of the problem and not the solution. That is why Canada matters. It is one of the many morbid symptoms of an increasingly far-right reactionary capitalism propelling the planet and its people towards disaster. Calling out bad behavior is not enough. Here in Canada, the death of NATO is already an established fact, plain to all. The supposed leader of the alliance is threatening us with annexation and the other members are studiously looking away. Even Britain, in whose defense Canadians gave 107,000 lives in 2 world wars, struggles to find a few words in our defense. Unlike Britain in 1940, which at least had Canada as an ally, we truly do stand alone. We already know that if Trump moves against us, no one will come to our aid. As your editorial says, Canada is suddenly on the front line in the worldwide battle to protect an international order based on respect for sovereignty. To many people that battle can seem abstract and distant at times. But the Ukrainians know it isn't. And when my son told me he was scared of the Americans and I couldn't honestly tell him that his fears were groundless, I knew it too. Congratulations on your editorial. Finally, someone in Britain has spoken up for Canada, in the wake of Donald Trump's obnoxious expressed intention to annex our country. The pusillanimous fawning displayed by Keir Starmer and King Charles will not be forgotten here in a hurry. In laying out the red carpet for this convicted criminal and admirer of dictators, and omitting to defend the sovereignty of Canada, of which Charles is in fact king, they have managed to undo all the good that Charles's mother did in her long reign. The Commonwealth is done. I am sure President Trump would be delighted to visit Canada's head of state to sort out their differences. Or doesn't he realize who that is? Title: The Trump Doctrine, Annexation and the End of Sovereignty. The world watched in stunned silence as Donald J. Trump, the 47th President of the United States, declared in a rally that the time had come to bring Canada into the fold of the United States. His claim was not new. He had long expressed a fixation on Greenland, openly discussing purchasing it from Denmark. But now he had turned his attention northward, and with his characteristic bravado, Trump announced that he would no longer tolerate Canada's weakness and underutilization of its resources. He vowed to annex Canada and Greenland, dismissing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as a crybaby, and branding Canadians as freeloaders who owe us everything. The prelude to crisis. 4 months, Trump and his far-right allies within the Republican Party had been laying the groundwork for this radical policy. In his second term, freed from electoral constraints and bolstered by an even more obedient Congress, he doubled down on his nationalist rhetoric. The notion of annexing Canada was initially laughed off by political analysts as yet another one of his blustering distractions. But as the months passed, the tone shifted from hyperbole to genuine policy discussion. The Republican-controlled Congress introduced a bill titled the North American Sovereignty Act, which openly declared that Canada and Greenland were integral to America's strategic and economic interests. Though legally meaningless, the bill was a stark declaration of intent. Trump, reveling in the media frenzy, goaded Trudeau relentlessly. He mocked Canada's military, belittled its healthcare system, and questioned its very right to exist as a separate entity. His rallies were filled with chants of "Canada is ours" and "Make North America great again." Canada stands alone. Trudeau attempted to rally international support against the existential threat his country now faced. But Canada, for all its historical alliances, found itself isolated. NATO was in disarray, effectively defunct after Trump had repeatedly undermined it. European nations, caught up in their own economic and political struggles, issued only tepid condemnations. Britain, led by a government more interested in maintaining favorable trade relations with Washington than in standing up for its former colony, refused to offer anything beyond diplomatic platitudes. The United Nations, largely powerless to act against a hegemon like the United States, convened emergency meetings, but no concrete action followed. The reality was bleak. If Trump chose to proceed, Canada would stand alone. The invasion begins. Then one morning in June, the world woke up to shocking news. U.S. troops had moved into Canadian territory under the pretense of protecting American citizens and securing vital economic interests. The border crossings from British Columbia to Quebec saw an influx of American armored vehicles. In Ottawa, Trudeau declared martial law and urged Canadians to resist in whatever way they could. The United States military, far superior in numbers and technology, faced immediate and widespread resistance. Canadian militias, ordinary citizens, and remnants of the Canadian Armed Forces took to the streets. Across the country, railway lines were sabotaged, government offices were fortified, and digital attacks disrupted American logistical operations. Urban warfare engulfed Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver as resistance fighters took a stand against occupation. The world reacts. China and Russia, long seeking ways to undermine the U.S., seized the opportunity to denounce American imperialism. Russia sent military aid to Canada, while China funneled financial and cyber support to the resistance. The United Nations condemned the invasion, but as before, it was powerless to act. European countries were split between condemning Trump and staying silent to avoid his wrath. In the United States, the annexation was met with mixed reactions. While Trump's base celebrated the move as a triumph of nationalism, protests erupted in major cities. Some military officials, disillusioned by the blatant aggression, resigned in protest. However, the machinery of American governance, now firmly under Trump's control, ensured that the annexation continued. The battle for Canada. As the conflict stretched on, it became clear that the resistance would not be easily crushed. Canadian forces, armed with international support and bolstered by guerrilla tactics, made significant gains. The cities became death traps for American forces and casualties mounted. The vast, rugged landscape of Canada proved to be a nightmare for occupation forces, and winter brought logistical nightmares. Despite Trump's declarations of victory, the war showed no signs of ending. A full-scale insurgency had taken hold, and the American economy began to feel the strain. Allies like Japan and Germany distanced themselves, and the stock market plummeted as uncertainty gripped the world. The fall of Trump. As the conflict dragged on into its second year, Trump faced mounting opposition at home. Whispers of impeachment grew louder, and even his most loyal supporters began to waver. The Republican Party, sensing political doom, started to distance itself. The final blow came when leaked documents revealed that Trump had considered deploying nuclear weapons to force a swift victory. The revelation triggered global outrage, and even the most hardened members of his administration turned against him. Facing the prospect of removal, Trump fled to a secure compound in Florida, refusing to concede defeat. But it was too late. In an unprecedented act, military officials, acting under the pretext of protecting democracy, arrested Trump and members of his inner circle. The war was over. The aftermath. In the aftermath of the war, Canada emerged battered but unbroken. The destruction was immense, but the spirit of the nation had been galvanized. With Trump removed from power, his successor immediately sought peace, withdrawing American forces and offering reparations. The world, having witnessed the dangers of unchecked authoritarianism, sought to rebuild the international order. But the scars of the war remained. Canada, once a peaceful nation, had been forced to confront the brutal realities of the modern world. Trust in the United States had been irrevocably shattered and alliances were redrawn. The world had changed, and history would forever remember the time when the leader of the free world sought to destroy his neighbor in a bid for power and greed. And so, Canada stood once more, a testament to resilience in the face of tyranny, a nation reborn in the fire of resistance. So what do you guys think about this update? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like my videos, please press like and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys next time.